Heyo people, Philip Link here, and today on Start It Up we have with us the beast, the brand new Dodge Demon 170. Pumping out 1,025 horsepower here from the V8 Hemi under the hood, running E85. I don't think Dodge has ever made a more controversial or excessive vehicle, and I absolutely love it. In this video we're going to be doing a full walkthrough and review of this insane car, so let's go ahead and get into it. Ah man, the Demon 170. What an uproar this car has caused. This is going to be the most divisive machine Dodge has pumped out, yet an absolute phenomenal piece of engineering for everything that's tucked under the chassis of this guy. Now the original Demon 340 was released back in 1973, and it was a very short-lived small batch of cars during that era, and after a short while retired that name. And then in 2018, when Ford and Chevy were competing with the Mustang and the Corvette over track times and performance, Dodge came out left field and dropped the SRT Demon, pumping out 840 horsepower when it's running race fuel on that car. Now the 2018 Demon, with its 840 horsepower and all of the drag tech pumped into an OEM car, it was just setting a trend of its own for what an American car manufacturer produced from the factory. And that was limited to a single run of 3,300 of those cars just in 2018, where they said they'd retire the name. Now the 2018 Demon was absolutely wild, and with those limited production runs was instantly sold out everywhere and really just gained a legendary status from that package. With the 840 horsepower, it was the first production car to be banned from the NHRA because of it lacking the roll cage which was required for any car that ran under a 10-second quarter mile. It was also the first production car to be able to pull a wheelie. Now with those cars being so special and rare, Dodge said they'd never make a Demon again. And that inflated the price from the MSRP of $85,000 all the way up through the years, continuing to grow, with some going for $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 for a low mile edition. Now you might ask, along with everybody else, that wait, is this not a Demon as well? And Dodge went back on their word. And the short answer is, yes it is. Dodge doesn't really care. Fast forward to 2023 with Dodge doing the farewell to the beloved V8 Hemi. They went through releasing special edition last call models all the way up until the end of 2022, and that's where they announced the Demon 170 as the final end all to the V8 Challenger. Now of course this release caused a lot of strife with the original Demon owners, as their car now became second tier and the value just massively dropped as this became the new best of the best for the Challengers. Although I would argue that I still prefer the OG Demon more. Now, of course, Dodge was expecting some people to get unhappy, so they tried to do some things that would help keep the original Demon owners content, and they made some statements such as, if you own the original Demon and still had it, you could get the same car with the matching ending VIN of your original Demon, so you have a pair. But a part of the difficulty of that was there was an asterisk. If you can get a purchase slot and you have that car, then you can get the matching number. And getting that purchase slot is where most of the controversy has entered. Now the MSRP on this was actually a very reasonable $98,000, making it a 1,000 horsepower car coming in at right at $100,000, making it the most powerful car you can buy for the lowest cost. Now with an MSRP of $100,000, a lot of the OG Demon owners are like, okay, I can almost manage that. But this is where all the dealership loopholes came in. The day that this car became for sale, it was an absolute nightmare. At first it's like, hey, they're asking $20,000 over. Hey, they're asking $50,000 over. That seems outrageous. By the second day, it was impossible to find a dealership that did not have a $100,000 markup on top of these cars, with some of them going up to $250,000 markup, putting this car at $350,000. But a part of the controversy was that Dodge said, okay, to prevent dealership markups, every person that adds on a markup, they get pushed down lower in the ranking of their car getting produced. They originally were going to make 3,300 of them. They said that any vehicle that was not finished by the end of the year would be cut, and that put the people with deep pockets further and further down the list. Now another part of that loophole meant that anybody paying MSRP got the first slots. So if you're a dealership owner, you could purchase the car for yourself, pay yourself MSRP, and then get way up in the front of the cars. For the rest of the people who were fighting with these overs, a lot of dealerships were doing like, hey, you can buy the car at MSRP, but you must go and first purchase a Dodge Dart or a Dodge Charger, and we're going to put a $75,000 markup on that car, which we already have on the lot. You can then sell that car back to us, but that would buy yourself a slot for here, making sure the paper you sign saying I bought this at MSRP is correct. Now I can't completely blame the dealerships as Dodge is ending this cash cow of a line, pushing the dealerships into their EV and other cars that are being released, which is going to have a lower markup. So this really was like a last bonus to all the dealerships to sell off, make the extra money as kind of a last hurrah on these special cars. Another big part of the controversy is a lot of the behavior from the specific dealerships. You had dealerships who took a down payment. Somebody would come in and say, hey, I'll top that by $10,000. They would then reject the original down payment, and it became a bidding war. All in all, it made a lot of people unhappy, but this car still is exceptionally unique and a special one, and the amount of engineering and tech into here just really can be appreciated by an engineer trying to ignore all the rest of the fluff and strife coming on with this thing. All right, switching gears from all that nonsense drama, let's get into the car itself. So what is a Demon 170? Originally, Dodge was going to take the Demon and go through, upgrade it, make it a new, faster version. They started with that, but once they started to get more and more performance out of this engine, they realized it's going to require a full overhaul of a lot more of the car than expected, and really has made the Demon into something unique. Now, to get the extra 180 to 200 horsepower out of this thing, what Dodge did was switch to the 3-liter Elephant supercharger on top of this. And with that, the key change on this car is the ability to run the E85. Now, the Demon 170 name came from the E85 fuel. You take the 85% alcohol in that fuel, duplicate it to get your proof, which is 170, hence the name Demon 170. Now, obviously, not all E85 comes in at 85% alcohol. It can range between 50 to 85, but this car, I believe, requires, I think, 66% alcohol to be able to get the full 1,025 horsepower. With this increase of power coming from the E85, they had to completely overhaul the heads, the bearings, the shafts, really everything in the engine to prevent itself from just blowing up. Along with this, they increased the throttle body side, which is just a massive intake here. They also put a yellow block on here instead of the traditional Hellcat red, and that's indicating all the corn coming from your E85 ethanol. All in all, getting your 1,025 horsepower and 945 pound-feet of torque. This increase is insane, getting a published 0 to 60 time of 1.66 seconds and a quarter mile time of 8.91 seconds. Again, outrageous coming from your really traditional body styling of the rest of your Challengers out there. Now, beyond the 1,025 horsepower coming out of this, you have the rest of the tech they brought into the Demon to be able to handle all of this power throughout. So, of course, like we talked with the factory first Demon, AC chiller. So with the ideal gas law, as that supercharger is compressing your gas, the temperature is spiking. That AC chiller is bringing that temperature back down to be able to increase the volume, a higher oxygen ratio to allow for an increase of power. Going down the drive line, we do still have the automatic 8-speed on the original Demon with the Transbrake 2.0, and that will be engaged in your first and second gear when you're doing a launch so that your engine can be revving up without the transmission slipping, and then you'll release your hand and get a full launch. We also have the line lock options in there where you're going to be locking off your front wheels, spin your back wheels up to get them extra sticky for that prepped surface, and then a whole bunch of ECU tech goodies built into the system. You can get in there and change very specific performance of certain aspects of the launch of this car with the RPMs, your torque, what time you get the shift. It's really a factory purpose-built drag car that you can just go buy and then learn to drive with. Another big change with this car when they're trying to fight for the thousandths of a second. To get below that 9-second quarter mile, they looked at any place they could shave weight. One great example is right here on the OG Demon. It's got the fender flares sticking out to match the rear. You also had big beefy tires in the front. You could swap with the rear after burning your back ones out. So they have a custom made tires for the here in the front. And they went through and cut out all the extra little weight savings they could to make this car lighter and faster. Another key move from Dodge was the optional carbon fiber rim package, with putting carbon on the outside, adding a lot less mass. It's going to take less inertia to get things spooled up. Again, causing your launch times to increase. That was a $12,000 upgrade on top of these. The engineers who got to work and design and build this put so much effort into so many little things, and it's just something that I really appreciate getting to dive into, learn about all the decisions they made to make this car what it is. Now, if you're coming from any other Challenger, the bodywork is pretty much all the same. The OG Demon had the wide body up front. They cut that off for the weight, like we said. Up tires, though, made especially for this car and your front rim. So unlike the OG Demon as well, you cannot put the fronts into the rear. What we do have new, though, is the Demon with the 170 neck tattoo, and it's got the little gold yellow eye to match the yellow block inside there. That's signifying the corn going into your 170 proof alcohol being used to run this thing. Rest of the body, pretty standard. We do have a wide fender flares here in the rear to help cover the massive, massive, massive Mickey's in the rear. I don't know if you can see under there, but just keep going. These tires are definitely the biggest difference in feel between the OG Demon and this one. There is so much more grip. It does not slip as easily, even with the increase of horsepower. At least that's what I've noticed. Back at the car, nothing special. I was sad they removed the SRT logo there on the wing. Should have kept that from the original Demon, but maybe that's a weight saving, or if anything, a cost saving on their part. There's not a good way to open this. You press the button, but then you kind of have to use your hand. In the back there, you do have the liner, which does cost a little bit extra, and it's increased in weight. Pop it up though. In there, we've got the big old battery in the rear. Bring your weight backwards, along with big Harman Kardon subs. They actually sound really good. Close in the back, there's not really a good spot, so I usually grab the tail light, slam it down. And then this side, same thing, identical to most Challengers out there. Real quick, jumping around to the front. If you have one of these, remove your deflectors. The yellow bananas, if you read your manual, there's even a warning to get those pulled off of the vehicle. Like the original Demon, the right light here is an intake going directly into your filter. The left is not, but sadly they got rid of the little Demon face inside. Instead of having the little Demon face, it's got direct connection in there. Not so great. It's not even palatable on, oh my gosh, if you're not braced, it'll snap your neck time after time, and gosh, dang, that is mean. So that's all I've got for you here today on the Demon 170. An absolutely fierce monster of a car. So let me know if you got any questions, comments, things you want to learn more about this car. I'll be happy to help out. So as always, have a good day. Peace.